I'm Bo Timken, Master Sake Sommelier, and in this segment we're talking about Jumai sake, but more specifically, how is sake made? Sake is actually in an industry where they call it's the industry of 10,000 methods. Essentially, thinking in terms of a timeline, you are harvesting rice. You're letting rice grow all summer long. You're harvesting in the fall. You're drying it. You're letting it acclimate. Then you mill or polish rice. Sake comes from the milling. You're removing the outside of each grain of rice to get to the starchy core middle. And then they do what's called a soak. The higher degree of milling of rice, the more refined the brew is, the shorter the soaking time. The lower grade rice, they can sometimes let soak overnight. But for high-end Daiginjo competition sakes, literally it's a minute in water where they have stopwatches and they have these guys tick, 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 pull it. And so it absorbs just the perfect amount of water. Then what you do is you steam this product. You steam this rice. You put in these big vats. You steam that guy and hit it with as much heat as possible to have it kind of explode and kind of decompose. Then you take this rice that's been super steamed. You take a third of it. You bring it into this wonderful little magical room called a koji room, where it's hot and humid. It's exactly like your shower. And in the koji room, you sprinkle a little bit of mold, koji mold. This is a mold that then breaks down that starch into kind of glucose form. And then you take his yeast and water, and you make this super concentrated yeast formula called the moto, and shubo or moto. Then you take these and you take these two kind of living, breathing elements and you put them in another vat. And in 4 days, you combine these elements. So then you have this big, think of it in terms of like a Campbell's soup can, but massive, of this fermented rice and water that's bubbling and oozing. And for the next 30 days, it's fermenting. So it ferments, and then after fermentation, you press it. You extract the unfermented rice particles to just get the fluid. You take that fluid and you run that through a charcoal filter, and then essentially you release that. Typically what they'll do is they'll let sake rest for about 6 months to a year, because fresh sake is really vivacious and brash and really tingly, if you will. So they'll let it either stay in bottle form for a year or in a vat form just to mellow out. And that essentially is how sake is made.